Starting soon.
All right, everybody, welcome to Album Book Club this week. We are doing Pod by the Breeders. So the Breeders. So the whole reason we picked this album was in kind of in light of Steve Albini's passing. If you don't know him, he's a really awesome producer. The only problem we had with that was a lot of his really awesome music isn't so friendly to audiences. So if this is our invitation to take a dive down into Steve Albini land, do it. There's a lot of really awesome music out there. But so we spun a wheel with two or three of them and ended up on Pod by the Breeders, which is awesome. Super excited to go through it with you guys because this is a very good album. All right. So with that, let's get right into our top threes. For me, go ahead and get started. I picked up Hellhound as number one, Metal Man as the second, and the third one was kind of hard for me, but I ended up going with Happiness as a Worm Gun.
Wait, do I have that song name written down wrong? Is
It's
it
Hellbound.
Okay, I was going to say, I
Okay.
thought it was Hellbound.
Well, clearly I can't read my own handwriting, so we'll...
I also thought I had it wrong until right now.
I was like, oh shit, the expert's here.
But either way, Hellhound, I almost fucked it up again, is my top song, followed by Opened, and then Happiness is a Warm Gun.
I had Hellbound, Happiness is a Warm Gun, and Doe.
I had Hellbound when I was a painter, and Happiness is a Warm Gun. Seems
on.
like two songs are...
It is, yeah, okay. Hellbound, it is definitively Hellbound.
Okay.
Yeah, I came really close. Doe is almost tied for Happiness, so it seems like we pretty much agree on that. So this might be pretty smooth going. All right, my least favorite song out of the bunch, I didn't write that down, sorry, was actually probably the intro track, Glorious.
That's so
God
valid.
damn right. Glorious is my bottom song as well.
Iris was my bottom song.
Only in Threes was my bottom song.
That's also very fucking valid.
Yeah, the picks over here are pretty valid, I'm not going to lie.
I think this is the smoothest opening we've had to an episode, maybe ever.
Yeah, we all seem to kind of agree here.
This is the unilateral music mind working.
Oh no, the singular brain cell.
That's not good.
All right, yeah, I guess that rolls really nicely into our rankings for every song. Since I already said Glorious was my lowest rating, which even I did really enjoy this album. So my lowest song, it was a 6 out of 10. So
Glorious for me got a 6 out of 10 as well.
Carson, you're out of order, but Glorious for me got a 4 out of 10.
Holy shit. Ooh. Glorious for me got a 6 out of 10.
I guess I'm... Yeah, so the tempo was all fucked up throughout the whole thing. I couldn't hear the vocals at all. I'm trying to see if there's anything... I get that it's probably a style thing, but they don't do either of those things ever again on this album. So to me, it feels like a mistake.
Yeah, the very low vocal track is my only true complaint about this song. I feel like it was maybe a production issue, but also knowing a little bit more, because I read some of the stuff about the people involved in this project and how it was a member of the band Pixies, and they were on a break from that band. And so, like, a big theme throughout this album is tracks being a little bit emptier, or they feel like they're missing something, because that's how these guys were feeling at the time. They were missing somebody who was a part of their band.
Yeah, I can probably expound a little bit on that. Since you kind of brought up the history, so the singer here, Kim Deal, it was the bass player in the Pixies originally, if I get that right. I might have just messed that up. But essentially, she did not get along with Frank Black, and neither did almost anyone ever. But that led to some stuff happening during the hiatus. To my ranking, sorry, I did all this out of order. The thing for me on this one is it is just super slow and kind of a moody song. Overall, I think that was what kind of led to it. It was kind of seemed like a really slow start to an album. Maybe that was on purpose. But in general, the more of the Steve Albini stuff you listen to, any of the stuff he engineers, the vocals tend to be pretty low. That tends to be a lot of people's complaints. It's just part of the style. But it does make it hard to hear sometimes.
Yeah, I actually did not find production to be an issue at all this entire album. But that is just, I guess, because I know how Steve Albini is, where it's like, once you know the producer, you're like, it's just how it's going to be, and you accept it.
Well, the only reason I have issues in this song is because this is the only time it happens like this.
That is
Everything
true.
else is fine, but this one...
This track
Okay.
is significantly worse with the vocal downplay than the other ones.
I did find this to be a really empty song. Like, there was nothing filling space, and that is kind of on the producer, kind of on the band. The producer should have been like, hey, you need just a little bit more. But the band also should have brought that little bit more. Because it sounds like they're rocking 4-piece, singer, bass, guitar, drums, that's it. Sounds like they could have used a rhythm guitar in there. The bass and the guitar work really well. I think the bass player is a shining light on this goddamn album. But guitar player, pretty solid. I would say everyone is solid, not great. You know, nothing stood out to me as like super amazing technique or work or anything. But also, it was.
Some of these backtracks, they just dig.
I was just say it drives. I think as this album went on, I became less and less of a fan of the vocalist. It got bad. By the end, it was clearly, I think they recorded this album in song order, and it could not have taken that much time because there's some strain. It got worse. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about this song.
All right, the second song, Doe, I really wrote down, this is the first time I hear what I think of Steve Albini for, which is absolutely slamming drums. This track is where you really hear that snare, which is, oh man, that is, it's definitely one of the drum sounds, and it's even more pointed out because there's not a lot around it. So, it really is a lot. And this is kind of when the album starts to pick up. So I gave this one a 7.5. Like I said, this one barely didn't make my top, but I really liked the way it kind of turned the corner from the first track. I think more than anything.
Yeah, I really like that upbeat vibe it kind of brought. I liked the change from the first track. And, it was a little bit more energetic, a little faster.
What song are we on?
Number 2. Doe.
Okay.
Doe. Yeah, we're on the second song.
When did we do... We didn't do numbers.
Yeah, we skipped right over
Okay.
that on accident.
Oh, that's totally my fault.
I thought we were still talking about
Yeah, I was
Glorious.
just rolling with it to make it kind of flow, but
Yeah,
You said upbeat. I was like, for Glorious?
no.
Fuck no.
No, absolutely not. Also, I tried to read the lyrics. Lyrics, they can hit me sometimes. I can vibe with them. What the fuck does any of this mean? Like, I read these, they mean nothing.
I couldn't get a beat on any song
Yeah,
and its
I couldn't-
meaning. I was just there. It was Japanese at its finest.
Yeah, but like I gave this one a 7 out of 10, mainly for the instrumentals, the background track here. It fucking hits.
So on track 1, I gave it a 6 out of 10.
You got that one. We
Yeah,
just didn't.
we didn't do numbers for Doe.
Oh,
You gave it
7.5 out of 10 on Doe. Yeah, I thought I said that. I could just be losing.
You
my
did.
mind.
We're
I
supposed
think you
I'll
did.
go through
Carson
numbers
did it.
first.
Ah. See, I'm terrible at
Gosh, fucking new guy.
Yeah, for Doe, I also gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10 as well. This to me was like very garage punk, and I was fucking all about it. The recording quality sounded just a little bit worse than the other songs, but in like the best way possible. It really sounded like they dug a microphone out of like
It's got
the,
just that
like,
little bit of grittiness
dumpster
you really need.
of a music venue that got covered in beer, and it still works sometimes. That's what they recorded on, and I loved it. It was very fun. It was a great intro. Bass player yet again, fucking killing it. And yeah, the drums were so loud in such a good way.
Yeah, this song, it doesn't have the same vocal mixing problems that I thought the first song had. And hearing this song, I was like, this is what I thought this album was going to be. Like, before I heard this first track. Like, this is what I expected seeing the track list, the album art, just everything about it. I was like, this is what I thought it should be. And, yeah, other than a couple of, like, off vocal things that had, like, one note here and there that was a little bit off, I thought the song was great.
I will say, this album was listed as alternative on Apple Music, and I really disagreed with that for like a fat couple hours. I was like, this isn't alternative. Alternative's heavier, blah, blah, blah. This is like post-grunge. And I sat and thought about it for a real good second. I said, does this really fit into anything other than alternative?
The other thing that's kind of interesting about that is this album came out in 90, which is way before a lot of the other albums we think of sounding like it.
Yep.
So that kind of adds to that whole thing is like there wasn't really, I mean, really you had the Pixies and you had, all the other bands that kind of came into being this, which would be Throwing Muses. They had a member of the Perfect Disaster, and the drummer was actually from Slint, which shout out to a fairly local band. Slint's from Louisville.
Doxing us on live.
Oh, I thought you were looking at me because I don't like Slint.
I don't even know who Slint is. I'm so sorry.
It's before your
Hey,
time.
fairly local. We've been to Columbus. Wide enough.
We are in a wide variety.
Well, according to Wikipedia, the Breeders are based out of Dayton, so they're technically a fairly local band too.
Mm-hmm.
Keep saying fairly local. That's a great way to put it.
I'm pretty
That
sure
doesn't dox
Kim
us.
Deal is from
That
Dayton.
actually is great.
Like she was a cheerleader for like Dayton High School or whatever.
Yeah, fun fact about Slint. One of our other reoccurring hosts told me to buy a Slint record one time, and it was the one record I have that I regret buying.
Oh God.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Who do I have is like Barry Manilow's greatest hits or someone like that?
Not counting that lot.
Oh, I was gonna say I bought a lot of 10, and I got the greatest hits of whoever you would fuck someone in the 70s to, and I
Well, you
could
gotta
not.
throw that
I
shit
could
on.
literally never spin that record without thinking like someone's grandma got plowed to this multiple times, and that's how I ended up with
Now
it.
it's time to plow your grandma to this.
Can I plow somebody else's grandma with it?
So
No, it has to be yours.
So you want an aside about the weirdest record I own. So I work in a music store during the day. So I had a customer that came in. We were talking about record stores. He said, "Oh, I love that place. I'll put something to the side for you next time I'm in." So I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate that." I was super excited to, find out what this guy left for me. And I went to pick it up at the counter, and I told him the name, and the guy just started giggling. And I was like, "What?" And he pulled out a vinyl LP of Tibetan monk throat singing.
Dude, that fucks. I bet that goes
Hell
so
yeah.
fucking
I mean,
hard.
yeah, it's pretty cool, but I've never seen nor expected something like that. So that's probably the weirdest
Also,
one.
you have a message.
I have a message.
If anybody ever asked me to like hold a random record aside for them while I'm working there, they're getting the most fucked version of funk they can find.
Oh, hi, Sean.
That's our biggest fan right there.
So the fun fact about Spiderland is that is the album that I regret buying.
Oh God, when are we getting Sean on, huh?
to do Spiderland.
To do Spiderland, yeah.
All right, I like that. We can do that.
All right, Sean, go ahead and shoot a message to our PR team. We'll get you trained up, and then we'll get you on.
All right, so we're gonna do rankings for Happiness as a Worm Gun before I screw this up again. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
I also gave it an 8 out of 10.
Gave this a 7.5 out of 10.
Carson, I saw you trying to fuck the order up again.
I give this an 8 out of 10.
We're not doing this 2 weeks in a row.
All right, so let me start by saying it takes some pretty serious balls to cover a Beatles song. Like, even in the 90s, even what I would say most people would say is a kind of a back cut for the Beatles. I don't know. I don't know if you can say anything's a back cut for the Beatles.
I think you could say half of their shit is a back cut for the fucking Beatles.
All right, time for me to be the dumb one. Didn't know this was a Beatles cover. Just didn't know. I don't listen to a lot of Beatles
All right,
music.
you do know that
so-
Helter Skelter is the Beatles, right?
Huh?
Oh, God, buddy. We got some training. See us next week when we listen to the White Album. Weezer, not the Beatles.
Hell yeah, Weezer.
Okay, I won't say anything bad about the Beatles other than you can say whatever you want, but they pretty much invented music. Okay, so anyway, to our point, it was really, really ballsy to cover a Beatles song, and that made me both like it and not like it, because you can't take liberties there. And there were a couple things they missed in the kind of in the flow and stuff. I mean, the production stuff on the Beatles is just obscene. I mean, it's absolutely insane. So to hear something like that orchestration and the amount of time they would spend on one of those tracks done on this album, which was recorded on like a $10,000 budget or something, maybe $11,000 budget. I think they actually recorded 2 albums for that. I just read through that a minute ago. But seeing that they chose to do a Beatles cover with that kind of budget's super cool, and they did a good job. So
I do think they extended the outro and added some goofy ass sounds from the Beatles version, and that is where a lot of my beef came with it, because otherwise it's like when you cover the Beatles, you can never do it in the style of the Beatles. That is just a fact. It's the same way that if you were to like produce and put out a Zeppelin song, unless your name is Greta Van Fleet, you ain't gonna sound like Zeppelin, so don't even try. Don't tell Greta Van Fleet I said that. I will get sued out the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Their influences were Journey. For legal reasons, I was kidding. Anywho, so I think them taking it in their own style was very cool, and it worked very well. It was like a 45-second long outro where they're like, "Wow!"
It was really weird. My only complaint about this song is the outro. I thought the outro was really weird. Other than that, I guess looking at it as someone who didn't know this was a Beatles cover, I don't know if I'm just stupid or ignorant.
No,
towards the
dude, this
subject.
is like a deep cut from the Beatles.
Okay.
If your surface level is like Yellow Submarine and Sgt. Pepper's,
I know that.
yeah, exactly. So that's where you sit.
Yeah, I've never really gone on a full deep dive of the Beatles, but I actually liked a lot of the stuff going on in this song. I really loved the way it kind of flowed from the last two, in a sense that I felt like the album kept building itself up in ways, and this one kind of felt like the fullest song we've gotten so far. Now that I know it's a cover, that's a little bit less, but still, I think it deserves the 8. It's a really good song.
So one last digression. If you don't know of the Beatles, a good place to start, there's a cool musical called Across the Universe. Not that I love musicals, but Evan Rachel Wood's in it, and that's always a good...
Across the Universe fucks. There's also a Powerpuff Girls episode called, I can't think it's like the Beatles, where a bunch of the villains become the Beatles, and the whole episode is just a bunch of Beatles references and fun shit. So if you're a hyper Beatles fan, go watch that episode and check and see what you can find. And if you want to get into the Beatles, yeah, Across the Universe is perfect for that. Or just start at Wings and work your way back.
Don't do that. You're not going to like it.
Go watch Grobo Clone.
What are the words that just came out of your mouth?
Oh, you don't know?
You say Grobo clone?
It's a good YouTube channel. We'll all right. We have lots to talk about after this is over. Let's get back to the Breeders here. You're up, right, Connor?
I just had that I was also not aware of the Beatles song. I figured it out pretty fast after I was looking for it. I remember I had to look something up. I think in the YouTube comments, it was like, great cover. I was like, who the fuck did they cover? When looked at, I liked it. I liked the style change. I didn't have much written down.
All right. Takes us into the next song, which is O.
Yeah, I threw mine over there.
Oh,
So on O, I gave this one a 6 out of 10.
Thank you, Carson. I also gave this song a 6 out of 10.
I gave this one a 4 out of 10.
this one a 6 out of 10 as well.
All right. I didn't take a lot of notes on a lot of these tunes because I don't know if this is one of the ones that's like a minute and a half.
Yeah, this one is this one is short and sweet.
Yeah.
This
But,
is essentially a fucking interlude.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about this album is that it kind of just comes and goes. They kind of get an idea out and then move on.
It does what?
But at the same time, it kind of made it hard to take any memorable notes. So
Figured it out.
I got it. What I have is it. What I have is it was slower, but still a jam with a lot of vibey guitars. So I don't know what that means in my handwriting, but that means I thought it was okay.
I could not get behind the guitar at all. For whatever reason, it was just like, I think it's because every time I expected it to play what I as a guitar player would have, it did not, and that made me very angry. It was just so empty, and then just moaning in my ear. I ain't Steven. I don't need somebody moaning in my ear to like the music. And it was just short. It felt useless to me. This was definitely a if you could cut it track.
Mm.
It's not my bottom track, but I got beef with that song for like a multitude of other
Then the
reasons.
album wouldn't even be half an hour if you cut this track.
You know what? It's 31 minutes. If you cut this track, it's like 29:45. Round up for me. You can fit it on one side of a vinyl. Isn't it about 25? I thought it was like 25 minutes.
I think it's 15.
Oh shit! I had it way. Oh yeah, you're right. Because I think I disagree more. It's 2 disc, and it's
Let me
like,
say, I've pressed. I've gotten 2 made.
How many
So, it
discs
was
is
about-
Janet Jackson?
Fucking 10.
that's a 12 box collection.
Because I know when I got From the Grave made, it was like $14.50 on each side, and I
Damn.
didn't have a limit for From the Grave, but
So like is like Freebird Live a whole vinyl? Do you have to flip in the middle?
probably.
Wow, that's pretty rough.
To continue the guitar solo, please flip to side B.
True fact though, like when Titanic was on VHS, you guys might be a little young to remember
There's 2
this,
tapes.
but there was something so cool about the being in the middle of it and being like, please insert tape 2. I always thought that was the coolest thing as a kid.
So I don't know if it's the West Side Story Blu-ray I have or the first release of it. It came with 2 Blu-ray discs, and at the end of the first one, it would say intermission, put in disc 2, and then you would put in disc 2, and it wouldn't have a menu. It would just go.
That's literally nonsense. A Blu-ray disc can hold like 10 gigs.
I know it was purely just for the dick factor, but it was a cool concept.
What a quote for the Monday reel.
The dick factor. I need that on a T-shirt, preferably a tank top.
Carson?
Can I get that in like a
All right, let me
bedazzled
talk about
hat?
this song real quick.
That's not what I meant.
Oh, here's my thing about it. I agree with you guys. It's pretty short. It's pretty empty. There's not a whole lot going on. There is one thing I'd like to point out, though. Can we talk about how god awful that secondary voice is? I hated it. Like, it's so grating in my ear. Whatever male voice they decided to go with here in the background, it just wasn't doing it for me. What was doing it for me, though? The violin stuff. I liked the violin stuff. I thought it was cool.
There is one comment on this video on YouTube, and it's just I don't like most of this song, and at some point there's like a voice crack that I'm pretty sure one of us did on this podcast before. Pretty sure one of us has replicated that perfectly, but like it's the track behind it is fine, but the vocals, nah, did not even come close to doing it for me. It's kind of like a vibe switch from the other ones too. It feels a little out of place, and I don't think they needed it.
All right, so from one of our least favorite songs to what I think was everyone's favorite song, Hellbound with a B is up next. I gave this a 9 out of 10.
Gave this an 8.5 out of 10.
I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
All right, so my notes say cool breaks, fat jam, killer bass line, guitar noise. I think that's everything I need in a song. I mean, it's not like there's nothing that's like profound. You know, there's none of this album is profound, but
These songs mean nothing. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but they're kind of maybe
The lyrics mean nothing.
I would agree with
The
that.
sad part is I've been in a jam sesh with Carl and can confirm that we hit all those check marks and we're all vibing, having the best time ever.
Yeah, this seems like something you'd throw on and enjoy, which was super interesting that I don't know that I've ever heard it on anything. I could be very wrong, but this was a track that I was like, cool, I'll write that down and throw it in the mix because it was a good one.
Who wants it?
I'll take it. Fuck it. Bass track, absolutely fucked. Great song. Vocals got rough. And this was where the decline in vocals started. The rest of this album, we're also about to hit the halfway mark of the album, and I swear to God, this is like 15 minutes in. Like, or not 15 minutes, like over 15 minutes. Like, I think you're at 20 minutes at track like 6 or something ridiculous. It feels like it took so goddamn long to get here. But this song just carries. Like I said, the vocalist is just very rough, kind of like goes in and out of being sharp and flat. Kind of like they had a key that was best for their vocal style, and they did not play in that key, and it happens to everybody.
I actually, you bring up the, like, it feeling like it's longer in the beginning. Maybe it's because I had to break it up a little bit because I was actually doing work today, but I didn't have that. I did think the end was quick, but I didn't think the beginning drug on that much.
So I stopped at track 6 when I started listening to this, right? So like I listened 1 through 6, had to take a break, and then I did 6 through 12.
Yeah.
And that first half took so long. Like after that, I was writing down ratings and realizing I was like 2 songs after. I was like, fuck.
Mhm. That happened to me once later, but I was also completely aware that I missed the song.
Oh, I was unaware.
Yeah, no, this one, this might have been around where I came back to listening to the album, but this is definitely a highlight for me on this. I just had that this song goes hard. Figured somebody else would handle the specifics of that because I was busy. Probably couldn't remember it.
Yeah, I mainly agree with you guys where it comes to the bass line. Absolutely fucking killer. The instrumentals carry this song hard, and I mean like 8 points goes purely to the instrumentals. I could care less about the lyrics. I could care less about the vocals on this one. That background track goes so hard. Just a good song.
4 bars in, I wrote down 8 and did not have to change it.
Yeah.
I was like, this bass fucking goes. It started off with just bass, I think. It was
Yep,
either just
chug,
bass
chug,
or
chug,
bass
chug.
and drums. And I was like, oh, that's like the perfect bass tone to me. It's the bass tone you want, but the one you can't get, Like, I've got that really nice, clean bass tone, and it pisses me the fuck off. So then I take a big muff and crank it.
Which literally makes things fall off the walls.
That is true. Like, 3 guitar pedals fell off, like, the top of an amp. A hat fell off the wall. It was wild.
Yet Logan shouldn't be allowed to have a volume control. But yet he's running our soundboard. No, so I looked it up. I strolled through my notes. This was apparently recorded over 10 days, so maybe there's not a whole lot of vocal strain. It may just be in the style, but I kind of agree with you. I think the vocals kind of slipped as it went on. I don't know. All right, on to number 6. When I Was a Painter. So I gave this one 7 out of 10.
It's crazy. I also gave this one a 7 out of 10.
Gave this one a 6.5 out of 10.
Give this one a 7.5 out of 10.
It's a tight grouping.
So what I wrote for this one was that it was a little slower. It definitely was not Hellbound, but it wasn't quite as melancholy as the first part of the album. It didn't have that kind of downtrodden feel to it. Maybe it was the vocal fry. Maybe it just kind of led to some of the upbeat. That kind of was a trend for the whole back half of the album. Scores a little higher than the front half, just because it seemed like everything was a little less down in general.
I think I fucking scored the back half of this album way worse than the first half. I think it's because I got bored. They started so good, and this song was when I got bored. I was like, oh man, like I got a back half of this album left. There's not enough time for there to be a back half of this album left, and it got empty again. I think like the last few songs have been full. Like there's been so much going on, and then it goes back to just that 4-piece. It feels like single layer tracks on everything. It's just empty to me. I know it's definitely not single tracks because no one in their right fucking mind does single tracks except me, and then I'll just copy and paste shit. But
Well, I mean, back in '90, this probably would have been tape. There's probably
actually,
not much double tracking, if any.
I forgot that this is nice.
But I'd have to do some digging to give you a real answer.
Yeah, this song for me, I kind of enjoyed. This is going to be a little bit of a hot take. I kind of enjoyed the swap back from Hellbound. I did listen to it all the way through, no break. I did that twice today.
Oh, I did that. I just didn't rate it then.
And I felt like it was going back to formula at this spot really didn't feel that bad to me. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked the swap back. But they also brought back that violin stuff that I was really liking in this song. And that's where it kind of scored its extra half point, because I thought the song was good in general. And then I hear that violin come in there. Shit goes hard. Score you extra half point.
See, I agree with everything you just said, except they didn't just bring back the violins. They brought in it couldn't really place what it was. It was either like an accordion or a melodica or something.
They did bring back a weird
I
one.
was not fucking with whatever that was. That's why it dropped. It probably would have been an 8 if it wasn't that, because I did like the switchback. Thought it was needed here. But it was just so out of place to have that instrument hit, and it was not it. I should probably give you the camera back.
All right, so we are on to track 7. Fortunately Gone. I gave this a 7.5 out of 10.
Are we the same person?
Maybe this week.
7.5.
I gave this one a 5 out of 10.
6.5.
I can completely explain this in one go. This was when I really started to look at the lyrics and was like, I'm not getting something. I was wrong. There was nothing to get. I tried. I really tried. I sat, I stared, and nothing. And it was a solid song. It was definitely a song. But it left me feeling wanting more, but not because it was so good I wanted more. It was just like, where was the rest of the song?
I wish the lyrics had any sort of substance to them.
I'm sure they
I mean, they
really do
kinda
to
do.
somebody.
But, like,
Just not me.
it's nothing surface level is the thing. Like, maybe these have all some hidden deep meanings, the whole Kendrick Lamar quadruple entendre shit that you have to read and look up and look into, which, I don't mind sometimes.
Not only that, but
This is-
alternative in this era was so different to what we know politically, just fucking socially, pop culture wise now. Everything fucking 34 goddamn years ago is just so different. I mean, shit, they're probably, goddamn ancient by now. At least in their 50s.
They're actually touring. They're touring right now.
Oh, yeah, we saw that when trying to make the post.
Yeah, I don't know. That made me think a little bit. I was trying to think back to other stuff from this era. Not that, I definitely kind of wholly ignored the late 80s, early 90s for a long time, at least in the rock genre. So, I was trying to think of anything I know that has a lot of vocal substance, and I think that may be just part of the era.
The only things I can think of are dudes that got big in the 80s then carried to the 90s. So, like Guns N' Roses, I think, is November Rain the title of their second album?
So you think November Rain has vocal substance?
I don't think that song, but I
Okay.
think Don't Cry does.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that.
Their cover of Live and Let Die, whether you like it or not, there is a lot of vocals because Axl would always do the screaming, and And then he would do his like vocals, and then track them. I
Can
don't
we
think he
please
did
get
it on
those
November
noises
Rain.
again?
Yeah, and then
Be careful, you're too good at that. You'll be on tour.
oh,
'Cause you're not nearly as horrible as a person as Axl Rose.
Give me that Slash shirt. I'm touring with Buckethead. Have you guys seen that?
What the fuck?
He's at a show, and he showed up like an hour and a half late to the show, comes out and goes, "You should be grateful that I even showed up." It's fucking Axl Rose with Buckethead doing Guns N' Roses covers. And then some guy shows up with a Slash t-shirt on. He's like, "Get me that fucking shirt," and kick him out of the fucking bar. And then he's like yelling at security, and they did it. I'm like, that's wild, dude. He hated Slash so much in like 2003 that he wanted some motherfucker kicked out of his show.
Okay, so back to my thought. I can't think of any bands in the '90s that have any substance. I mean, I sat here and thought for a minute. I'm sure there's somebody that can comment and then correct me, but this is one of those. This is that time I get to say I'm not a huge Nirvana fan. But if you think of Nirvana, there's not much going on lyrically, at least on the surface.
When did Foo Fighters get lyrically good?
After Nirvana, because Dave Grohl was in the
Well, I know, but Nirvana ended in what, like 95?
whenever Kurt died.
Yeah. I don't know.
Whenever he learned how to paint a ceiling.
Well, my money is that Dave killed him and sold his
Carson
soul.
wasn't on camera.
make the
so
Foo
he's not
Fighters.
making the reel.
But no, but
Save us for about a year.
hey, that might be more cause and effect because Kurt always said this was one of his favorite albums. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer. Maybe somebody will comment. Who knows? All right.
Who knows
Of the two
why
of
all
us
the
that it
vocalists sucked dick in the 90s? When did Linkin Park
a lot of
start?
Sean
cigarettes.
still on there? Did Sean answer?
Yeah, we're getting corrected.
Kurt died in '94. Okay.
Ah, so fucking close.
All right. Okay.
I thought Foo Fighters was like 97.
Yeah, the first
Yep,
album came out in
that-
'97.
Was my
thought it
was
was
I
in
on it?
87.
Let's go.
Yeah, your
My
boys-
Hero was first or second album.
Second album.
Oh, so that was probably what 99 or 2000.
Yeah.
That to me is like one of the greatest songs to fucking ever exist, and that is the only example for great lyrics I have for like such a lot of shit.
Well, I mean, some of the Nirvana stuff definitely has substance.
Yeah,
But it's
I just avidly hate Kurt Cobain's guitar playing and all the people that talk about how great of a guitar player he was.
well, but
He was a good music writer.
right. He was bad on purpose. But
That's-
that's a different. We're talking about the Breeders. We're trying to talk about the Breeders.
We
Oh,
we never end up on
I'll
just
talk
the one
about
thing.
the song that we're on real quick.
Here we go. Here we go. Back on tack.
Because it's not much.
Yeah.
Listen, we're still in the same formula. They don't do much with this one. It doesn't move a lot. It's kind of getting a little blendery in my ears at this point in the album. And
Oh, it's fine. The next song completely fucks that up.
I think there's still some variance, but overall, this one's just really basic. It's one of the ones that I can kind of forget and let it drop to the background and not really pay attention to it.
Speaking of, that is exactly what this song is good for. Like, if you're not looking for lyrics, you just want something in the background, this one's a vibe.
Yeah.
It fit
This-
really good.
Entire album is a perfect background track to
No,
anything.
because we'll get into it in the next song, but there's
All right,
something
that-
will happen that will piss you off.
That one is very true. This is like if you're in a heated car chase and then you get stopped at like a red light or some
Yeah.
shit. Is the next track better hit at the red light?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So that actually is a cool segue, or as I used to say, segue. I always thought that the moped thing couldn't be the same thing as the word, and then I realized that it's an entendre, and that's on purpose. So anyway, interesting fact about how big of an idiot I am. So the next track is Iris. I gave that an 8 out of 10.
Whoa.
Yeah. I gave this song a 5 out of 10.
I gave this song a 3 out of 10.
I gave this song a 5 out of 10.
All right, so to defend myself, I have that it has a cool intro and is a fat jam with a lot of stops and starts. I apparently write really incoherent notes when I'm listening to music.
It's so valid.
Mine's quick. I don't like the way that hour is pronounced constantly on this song. It pisses me off. And if that hit in the background, I just hear hour pronounced wrong from the background of whatever I'm doing, I'm going to be fucking pissed.
Logan, can we get a soundbite?
Oh yeah. No. don't even know what the fuck she says. It was so. There's tricks to singing, and that is softening words. Another terribly bad example is "You Give Love a Bad Name" by Bon Jovi. When you say name in singing, you kind of have to say like name, and insinuate the N, or else you'll over enunciate the M. And that's exactly what he does here. Name. It's fucking bad. And that's what she did in this song. And that is the chorus, which is like every other fucking line in this goddamn song. And this song is almost unlistenable, except for the guitar tone sounds 1-to-1 of Tony Iommi. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I thought they were about to slide into like fucking Paranoid in the middle of the song. I was like, hell yeah.
But then no, you just get hour again.
And then you get hour again. So.
Arr.
I wonder. This was recorded in London. I did see that in some of the research. So that it could be like one of those like an American in London kind of things where the accent's rubbing weird. I don't know.
I bet they had like a pseudo accent. We're trying to sing through it.
They were just making fun of British people.
Dude, we do that all the time.
I can't say that.
Only Ed Sheeran.
Nice
The
save.
acceptable one.
That's my cousin. All gingers are related. Don't you be
damn
you
it.
be easy.
All right, I get. Who's a fun British person to make fun of? What's one of those like influencers that got way too like Morgs? We'll make fun of Morgs.
All right.
The
I agree with
TikTok
you guys.
deep
The
cut.
vocals on this song are pretty rough. Background track, still pretty okay. You know, I like the guitar, I like some of the stuff going on, but I really latched on to the lyrics in this song and the vocals and trying to figure them out. This is the point in the album where I had my Logan moment, where he's like, I have to try and figure out something going on with the lyrics. I read into them. I don't know what any of them mean. I have no idea what this song means lyrically. The words mean nothing. They don't even go together.
So I think I would be less mad if this was signifying that it was a punk album, right? Because go listen to fucking Ruby Soho by Rancid or anything by the fucking Ramones except for Pet Sematary, and not a goddamn thing means shit. But this is an alternative album, which in my mind means there's some sort of agenda behind it. So maybe it's just my biases that doesn't understand the lyrics.
I don't know. If I gave you a top rundown of a lot of my favorite albums, a lot of them have singers that are like borderline unlistenable, and I think I just drown them out. So that could be. I think at this point I had already just like turned off the lyrics in my brain. So that probably will change some of our ratings as time goes on here.
It's very fair.
Is that everybody?
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
All right. Next track is that's a 9, not a 4. 4 doesn't make any sense. It is number 9, and it is Opened. I give this one a 7.
I gave this song an 8 out of 10.
I gave this one a 5 out of 10.
I give this song a 7 out of 10. I'll go first because it's really easy. This is the thumbs up plus. Thought it was a little bit better than normal thumbs up.
Here, I'll go follow. I got a thumbs up minus.
Fair enough.
I can take it because this is easy. First off, just want to get this out there. It almost sounded like they tried to do a transition between this and the last song. It was fucking garbage. But other than that, this song sounds very much like it was pulled straight off of an EP that me and Zach reviewed a couple weeks ago. It's this like super prog rock sounding EP from a band Maruha. And this sounds straight off of that album or that EP, and I would argue that that might be the highest rated thing that this podcast has ever done is that EP. So that reminded me 100% of that, and I thought it was great. And I think this was this my top song? It was almost my top song.
I wrote that this picked the tempo back up a little bit. That's something generally I don't know, alternative. It leans towards the punkier side of things, I think, in general. At least towards that kind of outlaw, whatever. Wow, outlaw reminds me of country. It's definitely not that. But it has that kind of outlier kind of vibe. And I think that's kind of where alternative tends to live, is right on that. But they don't want to decide to be against anyone. They just want to exist out there. So anyway, it was faster. And then I wrote that there were cool guitar harmonics in the intro, which was a plus for me. All right, pretty short songs at this point. We're on number 10, Only in 3 Seconds. I gave this one a 6.5.
I gave this one a 6 out of 10.
Gave it a 6 out of 10.
5.
I can go first. Pretty close to the others, but
Yeah, I'll just keep it going. The bass was just great on this song. And I think this song really just kept the groove of the album going. It kept the flow up. It kept it going. And that's what this was. I mean, when you get to this like 10 track, you have two options. It's start the slowdown, or it's just keep it going. And I kind of like that this just kept it going. They started off just kept it going, and then they tied it down in the last two-ish. The singer at this point was just getting worse, in my opinion, though. Like it was getting to be more and more out of key moments. Not like I would say it was only maybe like 3% of the total song, but it was just enough for me to be like, "Ew."
Did any of you guys look up what the lyrics were about on this one?
Not on this one. I gave up on like 3 songs ago.
Okay, I was just curious if it was like about a man that needed a little blue pill or something with the title, because the whole song just kind of gave me this vibe of like womp womp. I mean, it got slower. It was kind of apologetic. I was like, I don't. Maybe that's what it's about.
I'm sorry you can't get it up, honey.
Yeah.
The lyrics for me here, I just
Hit too
it
close to home.
pissed me off. Oh my god, it just pissed me off so bad. Most of them just say "oh," that's most of it. And the fact that some of it's out of key and the vocalist is getting like kind of rough at this point, especially like since I tend to tune in on the vocalist pretty heavily when I listen to music. I can tell that my ears are biased towards that. Like I like to read in onto the lyrics. I like to, do that whole rigmarole. And it's just rough for this song to me.
It's just what you needed.
What?
Wow. I don't even know. I was answering you while looking at Carson.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on.
Yeah,
Right.
no, the singing is terrible. It's just getting bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's vocal fry on purpose or not. It might be, and this all could have been recorded in 2 or 3 sessions. 10 days could have been like writing all the way through recording. I found some demos of this stuff, but based on the timelines that I saw, I don't know how plausible that is, because this iteration of the band only ever played 2 shows together, because it was like they pulled essentially people from 4 different bands apart. And while the Pixies were on break, I don't know if all other 4 bands were, so it kind of led to everything being on this super tight schedule, to the point where I think they recorded it at the bassist house in London, from what I remember of the reading. Again, someone correct me, I'm sure I'm wrong, but it kind of led to this interesting, I guess, kind of rushed sound a little bit. But it is very natural, very fitting for the tracks, but the vocal fry does get really tiring.
I almost wonder if it was a stylistic choice to do it, because I mean it kind of does fit with the way that this album is winding down. Like it doesn't displace in the songs, it just displaces in my ears.
I think if it were done a little bit better, like if it were like truly like if it felt like, oh yeah, it was their intent to do this, like it would be better. But as it currently stands, we're kind of still in that gray area of was this their intent or is this singer bad? Like it isn't done well enough for the intent to be shown.
It's one of those ones where we shouldn't have to ask the question to
Yeah.
the band themselves. Do I think they would ever admit that it was done on not purpose? No.
I don't know. They might. From what I've heard, they're all pretty laid back. This is, again, no one out of the Pixies. Kim's one of the more laid back people. So, it might have been on purpose. I don't know. It might not have. But, okay. So we're on track 11 at this point. I think everybody spoke their piece.
unless anyone wants to ask the band directly, and I'll throw it in the reel.
Hey, if you can get the Breeders to respond, that's pretty sweet.
Hey, Breeders, on your album Pod, was the vocal burnout a stylistic choice or an accident? Let us know.
You get him with a thumbs up emoji.
Well, that's awesome. All right, so we're on Limehouse. That almost sounds fake. Is that right?
I saw
Limehouse.
Limehouse, and
It's
I was
Limehouse.
my first thought was, fuck yeah, I know Limelight by Rush, and I was expecting a Rush song. I was wrong.
So I gave this one a 7.5.
Give this one a 6.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 5.75 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10.
Wow. I'll defend myself with me saying it was back upbeat and better than the last song. I guess that gave it a 7.5. Sorry.
No,
All right, if you're going to speak again, I'll cut back. Oh, wait, you didn't do it yet? Nope. Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this song's pretty good, but it's short. It's a decent wind down. Didn't do a ton, but pretty good.
Instrumentals carry hard.
This was where I feel like the guitar finally found its place on the album. You're on the wrong cam, by the way. And so I was like, just getting into the guitar, and then it ended. I was like, God, like the guitar on this album feels like it took a backseat hardcore to everything else. I mean, I can't say I blame him with the fucking bass player.
Wait, is this
grooving
the
and
song with the
schmooving.
sick ass guitar riff that goes through it?
I think it's got like, is this the one that's got like the weird country style lick? One of the songs has like a weird ass country like twanging riff, and this one might just have some weird like moving riff.
I know in my notes I pointed out the guitar riff specifically for this song because that's one of the things, like how I said the instrumentals carry here. Yeah, that's one of the things that carries this song for me. The vocals are still kind of rough, not gonna lie, but they aren't. I don't think they were as bad as last song.
I will be honest with you. These songs being so short, and I guess kind of the overall vibe of this album being so consistent, I didn't write a lot down because when I was listening to this through a listen through, with really the exception of like my top 3 or 4 songs, I didn't really hear much difference between a lot of them. So I would look back and be like, oh, I missed a song. You know, there's some songs that have breaks that speed up and slow down and do this stuff. So like, I mean, this one was one of them that like I kind of went back and I was like, oh,
it
was-
existed.
this existed. It was a different track. I rated it higher because I really did like the back half of the album better than the first, and then it was just that it was back upbeat. I really didn't like some of the slower stuff on this one. All right, is that everybody?
Yep.
Mhm.
So,
All right. This was probably this was my second favorite track. So on Metal Man, I gave this an 8.5 out of 10.
give this one a 6.5 out of 10.
I gave this one 7 out of 10.
I give this one a 7.5 out of 10.
Damn, we covered almost all of them.
All right. I'll go ahead and say this one was my thumbs up for the album. I'll do the thing with Bob. I really
Whoa,
liked
you
it.
got to throw a couple pluses on there.
No,
Was it in your top 3?
it was in my top 3.
He just didn't have much to say about it. He just liked it.
No, I really did. Yeah,
Fair enough.
it's a good way to close the album.
I think your beef with it's the same beef I have with it, that this does not feel like an end. This feels like a start.
Yeah, but it also, I thought it was a little empty.
The back half of this was, but I also think it had the world's longest fucking outro. Long enough for my headphones to have thought the song was over and clicked the speakers off, and then I looked and there was still like 5 seconds.
Yeah, but again, if it's an outro, it's gonna be the ending to the album. I don't think the second half of that can be kind of empty
That's
and
true.
then drag on. But I think it was decent.
It just had like a decent build up throughout
Yeah.
most of the song, where it would even do like the drum rises. I was like, this is like should have been the start of the album.
Well, I mean, if they could get rid of the start of the album and replace it with this, I'm sure it would be fucking great.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that bad. I really like the build-up in this song. That's kind of like where most of my points come from. Because generally I was kind of sticking around 6.5 to 7 for the bass song here. You know, because it's just kind of one song melded into 12 different ones. It's just, I thought that. Hold on, I have to make sure, real quick.
Dude,
Yeah.
got his notes out.
He
needs a phone stand.
I actually left a little bit satisfied with like the little bursts of energy we got throughout this song. However, I agree, it's not really an ending. This would be better as an intro. And if you cut off the long, drawn-out ass outro, it'd be a great intro song. In fact, it'd probably even bump it up to like an 8, 8.5 for me.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about, because I guess I just thought how the whole album kind of just sounded the same, but I didn't think about the fact that if the whole album sounds the same, they probably could have shuffled it up better. I think you guys have a pretty valid point.
I bet this album on shuffle would go fucking insane.
Honestly, it might not even have to be on shuffle. Just switch the first and the last and take out O.
Take out the interlude. What a common theme for our show.
Maybe we need anti-interlude propaganda merch.
Again?
No, anti-interlude.
Oh yeah, that was pro interlude.
I think we're...
I think we're on to the new word.
Yeah, so I'm going to pitch, because Flo has kind of tripped us up here on this show, and it took me several hours to remember what I came up with to replace it with. But I think flow should be replaced with pacing, because flow is kind of like how the songs flow together, and when we have that, we fight for it, but then half the group is fighting against that. So I think pacing is what we've been trying to rate the whole time, but flow has been tripping us up,
I
especially
like
last
pacing
week.
better.
So I think pacing...
Yeah, last week led to a big argument on
so, like,
personal biases.
Are you looking for continuity?
I think it's just, like, if you're listening to it top to bottom,
The
is
vibe
there
of
any
the album.
points that fuck you up? Any points that are just like, this shouldn't be here? Just how cohesive is the pacing of it?
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, all the best albums listen like watching a movie, and that's the way I think about it. So I guess whatever you want to call it, is it congruous
There you
or
go.
incongruous? There we go. There's your
There's
nickel
your
word.
big boy words.
Nickel word for the day. So on this one, I put down that it had really actually pretty good flow. Did you rate them number
Yeah,
wise?
out of 10.
I'd probably say it's like a 8, somewhere in that range, because there were a lot of starts and stops. But I mean, to my point a minute ago, like I literally, some of it could just be that the songs are a minute and a half long sometimes, but I didn't know when songs were starting and ending, as long as I didn't get an ad or something like that going on.
Yeah, I agree. I also gave the pacing an 8 out of 10. You didn't swap the camera. Sorry, bud.
Who's fucking up the pacing?
Well, after I called it flow again, so
Yeah. Anyway, I
you
gave it an
fucking
8 out of 10 on the
idiot.
pacing.
You better speak to HR after the show.
You're getting fired, buddy.
it's fine. First day, I'm already fired. That's the best way to roll out.
It's not first day yet.
But yeah, there wasn't a lot here where I could argue against it, kind of being cohesive, it flowing together, It all kind of sounds the same, and a lot of times that can be bad. We've had the argument before on the show where it's like, if all these songs sound the same, then they don't really flow together. But when it comes to pacing-wise, they pace just fine together. And listening to this through and through, maybe take out the interlude, There's not much done wrong here. Swap the last song for the first song. There you go.
Yeah, I think even with the interlude, pacing's pretty decent. I give it a 7.5. Obviously, I hate the first track, and we talked about the last track potentially being moved up. But other than that, like, the middle is a really easy listen, and it's not 40 minutes long. So
Yeah, I gave pacing an 8 out of 10. I genuinely had this rated a 10 out of 10 until about track 7. That was when it started to turn into the second half felt fast. And I don't know if that's for the better or for the worse, but in my mind it was for the worse, because it was like, I felt like I was expecting a longer second half. I was ready for that extra 15 minutes they could have added. I was prepared for it, and then it didn't happen, so I missed some shit.
With the speed they were speeding up, could you have handled 10 more songs?
I could have handled 10 more songs, or I could have handled an extra minute on each song, or a minute and a half. I would have there were some songs I think they could have added true length to, not just drawn out length.
yeah,
So I think that might have been some screwy part, because, I mean, there are some of these songs where the last 15, 20 seconds you can space out and not really pay attention.
No, it did kind of occur to me, when I was listening to it, I kind of thought, well, maybe, because it almost felt like a lot of the instrumentals didn't have time to flush out. It almost felt like lyrically they would come in too soon, and there wouldn't be enough. Like, at a minute and a half, most of these songs can't have a second verse. Like, there's literally no way. And I would having not listened a lot to the words, I would bet a lot of them don't even have a real structure, verse, chorus, bridge kind of thing.
I'd say it's probably like verse, chorus, refrain, chorus, chorus.
Yeah.
I think the ones I rated higher had more of a song structure, and then some of the other ones were just
Chorus,
I
verse,
just
chorus,
didn't-
chorus,
yeah.
chorus.
didn't have that.
They had the new modern way of music, which is verse, chorus, 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 bridge.
That's how you remember the. That's how you remember the beat, man.
So I remember the Alamo.
Unless you're Ozzy.
I don't get that one.
Ozzy Osbourne's band from the Alamo.
He pissed on it.
He pissed on the Alamo.
Whoa,
They-
whoa, whoa, whoa,
yeah,
what?
Yeah,
You
they,
didn't know
It's
that?
like Carson didn't
No.
remember.
He like showed up down there one time to apologize, and this was probably like 20 years, 30 years after the incident, and they fucking ran him out.
yeah, they like removed him with force.
Yeah.
Damn.
This is also the same guy who was like talking to somebody, and they were like, Ozzy was like, I'd love to go on tour with you guys. And he's like, Ozzy, we've been on tour together. He's like, we've never been on tour together. And they pulled out like a fucking tour poster. And Ozzy was like, I guess we went on tour together. He's like on coke or something.
Yeah, I think Ozzy literally melted all of his brain cells like during the Sabbath days, and it just continued to get worse. So
Yeah, go watch his run in the 80s of how he wanders around the stage like a grandpa at a nursing home.
speaking of which, the new Ozzy album is terrible. Don't go listen to it. You will be disappointed.
It's because he sounds the exact same, but you can tell the effects are there now. Because you're like, no way, this like 90-year-old dude or however fucking old he is, 70-something-year-old dude can sing like this, and you're like, oh, it's all the auto-tune.
You know, that reminds me of a point. I don't think this album would have sounded nearly as good on digital. I think the tape does a good thing to smear some of the things that we necessarily don't enjoy and kind of meld it together. Because you made me think of like all the news anchors and stuff where now you can see their makeup and you can see their wrinkles and stuff. And I'm like, guys, some things just shouldn't be in 4K. Can we turn it down? You know, I feel that
Give
way
me my
with...
news in 1080p.
Yeah, I feel...
Give me my news in 320.
I really feel that way with audio sometimes. Like, I miss the analog smear in the top end and the other magic stuff tape does.
I hate recording through a computer when I can play through my amp and keep it just a little bit dirtier. I don't have to play just as precise.
Yeah, but isn't your amp digital?
Not my basement.
Oh, okay.
Not my ass, man.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
My Tim Henson one, that is digital.
Also here.
And yeah, I do have a key on Connor's computer.
Nice. Okay, everyone got to go, right? I didn't cut anybody? Okay.
Yep.
So we are on album art. From what I remember, this was like a yellowy thing.
Here, I got you.
You got me?
Mhm.
You're the dude here.
Yep.
It's got this stupid ass Apple Music animation. It pisses me off.
Oh, weird. It's animated. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the vinyl's not animated. That is pretty cool.
Crazy.
It's like a banana.
You think it's a banana?
Kind of looks like one.
Wow, that is interesting.
Dog, I thought that was like a motherfucker with a distorted ass hand.
I also thought it was a person.
I don't know if it's a banana. I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10 because that's delicious. But if it's a guy with a weird hand, I guess I'd give it like a 5. So let's slide to 6. Let's slide in the middle because I don't know if it's a banana or a guy with a weird hand, and now I'm hungry.
I personally hate bananas. 6 out of 10.
I liked this album art. I thought it was kind of a vibe, which so was this album. You don't really exactly know what you're looking at, and if you listen to the lyrics, you don't exactly know what you're hearing. So I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 6 out of 10, and my notes say exactly, I don't get it, but it's kind of cool. I don't think I would buy it if I saw it sitting on the shelf.
Pre this episode, I would agree with you, but I think I would.
Post
buy,
this
I would buy it
episode,
now.
I would buy
Yeah.
it now,
Mm-hmm.
but I would not have blind bought this. Unless
That's
someone extensively told me that's a solid album.
I would
I
not
don't even trust
blind
that
buy
anymore.
banana
That's
either.
so valid.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, Carson would have seen that and gone into anaphylactic shock.
Man, we have enough
Are you
clips
allergic
for
to
the Monday
bananas?
reel.
Huh?
Are you allergic to bananas?
Oh, I'm going to blow his fucking mind.
This motherfucker can't eat fruit.
All of them. I'm allergic to every single fruit and about half the vegetables out there. Full anaphylactic shock.
I'm really glad I took all the fruit out of my pants on my way here. Okay.
Well, still got a big ass fruit sitting next to me, so
That's right.
Steven's not here.
I always have a fruit sitting next to me, I guess.
It's because you're loopy, bro. Call you Toucan Sam.
I got one. Toucan Sam.
Well, on that lit note, we're on to overall. Overall, I think I rated this average. It's probably about a 7.5, but I think really it pushed it up to an 8 with the flow. I really enjoyed listening to this as an album.
Yeah, I think if you did numbers, like average numbers, and exclude the first one, should I give it a pass? It's going to end up being like a 7, somewhere around there.
I gave it a 7.
I also gave it like a strong 7.
Cool. I can kick us off. Singer's like there. Great bass player, absolute great bass player. And I did put songs lack substance for an analytical listen, but are great for a background album. I think there's a perfect background album or a perfect starter album. I think if you're gonna listen to this album, you have to follow it up with something else. It's not long enough to go on its own. I would listen to this like at the start of a road trip before I put on like the playlist or something like that. If I'm like, you guys gotta listen to this album, and just throw that on, and you're like, all right, here's Concrete.
Yeah, this album, it's a vibe. Definitely background music, but if I saw it at a record store, I'm picking it up, 100%.
It's on the list now. Yeah.
It is.
Carson.
Oh, I thought it was, yeah.
What do I-
We were going this way.
What do I have left? Oh, did I not talk about the album?
You did a little bit.
You already did music overall? Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed
yeah.
to do it as we get to each other, but none of us did it. So,
Oopsie daisy.
circle back.
I just followed your lead.
Anyway, I agree with these guys. You know, the album's definitely a vibe. It's definitely background music for me. I thought the vocalist struggled a little bit, but I can't tell if that's on purpose or if it's not. Like, definitely some of the off-key stuff, you can't really... That seems like a mistake.
There is
But-
like a sweet key when you're singing, like of that key that you're like really fucking good at.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you like tweeter around like the like keys that are like one sharp up or one sharp less, it can get a little fucky. And I think that might be what happened here. It
Yeah, they
just
might be like jumping keys.
danced right around the sweet key a little too much.
You know, I don't know if this was supposed to be a one-off album. I kind of had that question when I was listening to it because the Pixies were back touring pretty shortly after this too. So there wasn't a lot of things that really happened as the Breeders. So no one really knew of this album until I guess the second album came out. Maybe the EP after, and then really Last Splash was kind of the time when everybody figured out the Breeders because they had that song Cannonball, which was number 2. It hit number 2 on the rock chart. So that happened in '93. So I don't know if many people had heard of this album. I don't know if it got distributed much or any of that because it seems like it was one of those kind of like almost like an album posthumously does better because it's like considerably after they're late bloomers. That's probably a better way to do it. No one in the Breeders is dead. Didn't. But it seems like it was a late bloomer.
It's funny because they kind of did like the reverse of what super bands tend to do. Like you look at like Damn Yankees or fucking, God damn it, what's the Vultures one? There's the Vultures band that Dave Grohl was in.
Oh, Them Crooked Vultures.
Yeah,
That's an incredible album.
they're just great super bands, but they come do one album, it hits the top, and then they dip.
They what?
But this, what?
They what?
What
They
was that
come.
first thing you said?
They come.
What?
So I don't know if you can call anything in like purely alternative a super band.
That's true.
I think that's pretty normal of this genre, just to like mix and match members as they please, and people stop in for one album and then leave for another, and I think that's just kind of the vibe of the whole thing. And pretty much everyone knows each other, and then they pretty much did in this point in this genre. That's how this band got started. They kind of just all knew each other. I would guess. I don't know. That'd be another question for them if they would answer is, do you consider the Breeders as a super group? Because I honestly don't think they'd say yes.
Make it
Really?
happen. We need an interview.
The only thing is when you do alternative, I think when you have a defined genre, it's easier to get bigger in. But when you have this wide scope, it's very hard to stay big. So you have a lot of these like bands that are good size, like considerably bigger than most, but still not quite to that like Van Halen, Zeppelin tier of like godhood. So they're like, you can mix and match a bunch of people that just want to play. They're there to play. I think alternative guys are there to play and have fun and make music and make money.
Well, especially in this era of alternative, they were doing everything they could not to become Van Halen or Led Zeppelin
Yeah.
or Guns N' Roses. I mean, that's part of the point, is that they hated that. They hated the idea of that. You know, we'll talk about Kurt Cobain as much as we want to, but, you know, the anti-hero thing was always his thing, and that was kind of always the point of a lot of this genre. I can't speak so much for the Breeders, but, you know, in general, the kind of alt-rock that later turned into grunge, which the Breeders would probably fall into in the later albums, you know, kind of the thing was that it was anti all of that. You know, they never wanted to be. That was kind of my point of saying I don't think they'd call it a supergroup, because I think that might actually offend them a little bit, because I think that's kind of against the whole ethos of the genre.
Wait, what?
This motherfucker's sleeping over here. Carson
Sorry.
just fucking rebooted.
Okay, wait, are we at like 10 o'clock yet? What time is it?
It's 10 o'clock.
That's 36 hours, baby.
Woo! All right, I think we're ready to get Carson's ass to bed. What's our album for next week? Oh shit, I remember our album for next week.
This is all you.
Next week we are joined by Shroomy, and we are listening to "Take Me Back to Eden" by Sleep Token. It's a great album, a bunch of great musicians, new guys. It's gonna be fun. I'm really excited. See y'all then. Like, comment, subscribe. Punch your grandma for me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Good night.